Hey everyone, it's Anthony here. Just a quick note before we get started. We have set up our own Discord server so that we can interact with you, our listeners, even better. If you would like to join us on Discord, please ask us for an invite link by either dropping us a DM on Facebook or Instagram, or by sending us an email at watchers4d@gmail.com. Anyway, with that, enjoy our episode on Earthshock. Watchers in the fourth dimension.
Dinosaurs. Are they your ancestors?
I hope not.
Well, you should be proud if they were.
Oh, thank you very much.
We meet again, Doctor.
Now I'll never know if I was right.
Hello and welcome back to Watchers in the Fourth Dimension. I'm Anthony.
I'm Diana.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Riley, and on this ship we execute murderers.
This episode, we're dealing with some pretty heavy stuff as things come to a bit of an unexpected end in Earthshock. But before we get into that, Riley's going to take a quick look at the mail. Over to you, Riley.
Thank you. We have some mail for our episode on Kinda, and we are going to start off with our good friend Alan Seiler, who says, I love this story. And since Anthony hinted at it during the episode and other people have mentioned it here, I will say that I consider the sequel Snake Dance to be the better of the two stories. But I love this one. Kendall is a fascinating character. My take on the Kinda letting Tegan sleep alone is that they would be able to sense that she is not telepathic, so they may presume that there is no danger of the Mara using or invading her mind. Telepathy is all the Kinda know, so they may think that Tegan's difference would protect her. But it's a fascinating story that explores some really neat concepts. Now that the Mara has been named as part of the Pantheon, I am looking forward to finally seeing a modern series Mara story. I give this one 7.5 wheels turning out of 10. I honestly considered making my metric 7.5 idiot males out of 10.
No.
Jamie Carlson writes in, says, I kinda like it. Parentheses, sorry. Interesting sort of parallel between 5th Doctor era trying to draw from the 1st Doctor era and the 13th trying to draw from 5th. 7 out of 10 wind, chimey-wimey stuff. Keith Burton says, as kids at the time, Kinda was a mystifying but enchanting set of 4 episodes. It was hard to believe that this was the same show that gave us the Horns of Naimon. We didn't understand much of it, but fandom at the time happily acknowledged Simon Rouse as Hindle put in the best villain performance since Michael Wisher as Davros nearly a decade earlier. The serial was overshadowed at the time by the more traditional Visitation and Earthshock. But in retrospect, it's bordering on being a masterpiece that gets better with each rewatch. 8.5 seductive Tegans out of 10. And that is something that seems to be a theme. People really came out in support of Kinda. I didn't expect it to be this strong. Kieran James Evans says, well, I like it quite a lot. Weird and wacky. I personally prefer this one to the sequel. Interesting, you have settled on Davison as the Doctor. I suppose I watched his era out of order via the VHS and DVD releases, so came to these earlier stories later. My first Davison VHS was the double pack of the 2nd and 3rd stories from season 21, so definitely settled into the role by then. 8 people you can't mend out of 10. Tony Monticello says, my favorite Davison era story, alongside Snake Dance. Maybe the production let it down a bit, but classic Doctor Who fans have overlooked worse, and the story is a banger. The lowest score I can give it is a 9 out of 10.
Oh.
I know. Followed up by, if I give up all pretense of objectivity, 10 out of 10. You don't need to have any pretense of objectivity, but do give us your metrics, please.
9 out of 10 what, Tony?
Yes. Mark Dunstan says, a great episode. Simon Rouse was fantastic, as were all the cast. Pity it was not shot on film. I will give this 9 rubber snakes out of 10. There you go. Once again, very high marks coming from the mail. Adam Quinton Wright says, do I love Kinda? Actually, yes. The fever dream sequence is a secret LSD trip. I love a good possession story, and this gives something to Tegan that follows her character in later stories. The Mara is her burden. I wish it would have stayed with her and not had the whole Kinda transfer. The team still isn't a team yet. At this point, Adric is just waiting to hop in anyone's white van offering him candy. You burned. Kendall going unhinged gets a laugh. Neris Hughes is the diamond of the tale. I agree with others that she carried the companion role. Overall, Kinda is a serial I'd watch again, but I do prefer the updated special effects on the Blu-ray. 8 out of 10 double helix necklaces from Hobby Lobby. Nathan Laws writes in and says, this is one of the stories that fandom will tell you is superbly brilliant, while being unable to explain why. This one has the claim to fame of being the first classic Who story to have a scholarly work written about it. Anyway, it was weird and nonsensical when I saw it at 6, and while it makes more sense to me now, I still don't get the appeal outside of the dreamscape bits. I think Snake Dance is a much better story. Get ready as the bickering a-holes continue. Soured as script editor thinks that the only way to create character drama is for all of your regulars to hate each other. So there will be another 5 seasons of this. Don't get me wrong, Soured has some excellent strengths and can tell some really tense, gritty action stories, but getting you to like the regulars is not one of those strengths. One thing that I was surprised wasn't mentioned by the podcast are that the characters that Tegan meets in the dreamscape are twisted versions of the main cast. I don't see that. I may have to rewatch it. Did anyone else now in memory see that connection?
No.
No? We will have to look back into that. Anyway, Nathan goes on to say, I like the idea of Tegan's subconscious opinions on her fellow crew members, and it's one of the elements that really works for me. I thought that the whole point of the box is that men who look in the box go insane, and only women who look into it can handle what they see. That's why they're surprised when the doctor can and doesn't go insane. I don't think that we're supposed to get much of the double helix other than that the Kinda used to be a much more technically advanced society, which is how they know the significance of that shape. Why does it need to have a greater meaning? ? I don't know. I'm a little sad that Anthony already spoiled that there's a sequel. I think that the surprise would have been a lot better. All right, well,
if Anthony hadn't done it, our other fans have.
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
And we've managed to keep some things secret up until now.
A couple things. Just a couple things.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. David Gordon writes in and says, now then, Kinda as immortalized in Ricky Martin's #1 single, Livin' on Devaloka.
Nice.
He goes on to say that he posted that gag on a forum about 10 years ago, and someone responded with a full set of lyrics to one verse and chorus. He can't remember all of it, but a couple of the lines were, Hindle about to break, living on Devaloka, unconvincing rubber snake, living on Devaloka.
Unconvincing rubber snake, living on Devaloka. Yeah, I dig it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So someone else, please finish the lyrics.
Yes, please. David then goes on to say, the trouble with satirizing British colonialism is that you risk being accused of taking the pith. Surprise.
Oh, no.
I love that.
Yes. Surprised at the panel's response to this one, as I get the impression that this is highly regarded by fandom at large. That said, I found it hard to argue with some of the points made. For the most part, great guest cast in my opinion. Nerys Hughes is of course a national treasure in the UK, especially in Wales. I did find it interesting that in the story she used a softened version of the Scouse accent she adopted in the Liverbirds rather than her native Welsh. And then David goes on to explain, which is so odd, I had just learned this just a few weeks before he mentioned it, that for Liverpool, the emblem on their crest of the football club is not a liverbird, but a liverbird.
Yep.
But the city is called Liverpool. So from going forward, I'm going to call it Liverpool just to annoy them. Anyway.
Quite right, too.
Anyway, going back to Nerys Hughes, he says that she is great in this, although I'm surprised Anthony didn't fit in a, quote, hot toddy reference. I'm not familiar with that, but okay. However, the fact that she essentially fills the companion role in this does mean the actual companions are somewhat sidelined, which isn't great. Simon Rouse and Jeff Stewart would of course go on to spend a lot of time together in The Bill, which he describes as a latter-day Z-Cars, as it would become the home of almost any British actor from the 80s to the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Less said about the rubber snake, the better, but hey, we forgive the clams, the Genesis of the Daleks, and the wood beast and the androids of Tara, so we'll give it some slack there. Anyone who's a fan of the cliffhanger to part 3, I will recommend the final episode of Series 2 of Millennium, which has a similarly bonkers sequence, which is also wonderful. Overall, some good concepts, a good guest cast, and a story which is mostly intriguing. I am giving this 8 reflective surfaces out of 10. And to wrap us all up, here is Beardo Beatnik, who writes in and says, Kinda is more like a cringe play with your college roommate in, and they drag you to the 6th floor of a semi-abandoned warehouse that you sit through uncomfortably, and at the Q&A afterwards with the director, when you ask them to explain some of the metaphors, the director just throws a chair at your face, screaming for you to get out. 4 out of 10 obnoxious wind chimes. That sounds way too specific to have been made up. Beardo, we would like the full story about a chair being thrown at your face. But until then, we'll have to wait for that later mail, because this one is done. Over to you, Anthony.
Thank you, Riley. And as a reminder to everyone listening in, we really do love getting your feedback, thoughts, comments, and questions. And as you've just heard, we do try to read out as many as possible on the show. So please do get in touch. You can contact us through Facebook and Instagram at Watchers4D, or you can email us at watchers4d@gmail.com. Additionally, we would absolutely love it if you subscribe to the podcast, if you're not doing so already, and if you dropped us a review or rating on your podcast platform of choice. Now, let's take this behind the scenes. In early 1981, producer John Nathan Turner had reached a conclusion about the future of the show. Adric had to die. The character had never quite come together as the production team had hoped, disappointing Nathan Turner and frustrating actor Matthew Waterhouse, who also had a habit of upsetting his fellow actors. Further, it became increasingly apparent that the show's writers were struggling to provide adequate material for all three of the companions that they found themselves saddled with.
You don't say.
Yeah, as we just heard in the mail about Kinder. With this decision, Nathan Turner felt that Adric should not have a traditional companion departure and instead decided that he should be killed off.
Harsh.
Not only would this bring a great deal of publicity for the show, Nathan Turner also thought that it would imbue the show with a greater sense of danger and tension, while making the surviving characters seem much more vulnerable than had previously been the case. After all, let's not forget, we haven't had a companion die since season 3.
Oh, Katarina?
Yeah. The story earmarked for Adric's demise was The Enemy Within, which was to be written by science fiction author Christopher Priest, and it was intended to be the penultimate adventure of season 19. In mid-June, however, a serious disagreement arose between Priest and Nathan Turner over payments for rewrites, and following a particularly nasty telephone conversation, it became clear that The Enemy Within would have to be dropped from the schedule. With production due to begin in just 4 months, it was agreed that a replacement would be written by script editor Eric Saywood. At this time, Saywood was nearing the end of a 3-month appointment which was intended to bridge the absence of Anthony Root, who was on a trainee posting with Juliet Bravo, a police procedural drama. It was now known that Root would not be returning to Doctor Who, however, and Saywood agreed to accept the job on a permanent basis. Under BBC regulations, this meant that he wouldn't be allowed to write new Doctor Who serials. However, there would technically be a gap between the expiry of Saywood's interim contract and the start of his ongoing position. As such, at the end of June 1981, permission was sought for Saywood to write a serial called Sentinel during this intervening period. The permission was granted around 1 month later, and on the same day, his commission was formally extended. To further avoid any appearance of impropriety, Root agreed to perform minor work on Sentinel so that he could be credited as the script editor. Both Saywood and Fifth Doctor Peter Davison were fans of the Cybermen, who had been introduced in the final story of the Hartnell era and were mainstays of the Troughton era, but had subsequently only been seen in Season 12's Revenge of the Cybermen back in 1975. Urged on by fan advisor Ian Levine, Nathan Turner was eager to bring back popular monsters from the series past, and he regularly agreed to the return of the Cybermen in Sentinel. Tired of Doctor Who monsters always being killed off in their first appearance, Saywood considered having the Cyber Leader survive Sentinel, providing yet another sign of the Fifth Doctor's fallibility in comparison to his predecessor. Although some consideration was given to ending Sentinel with the revelation that Adric had escaped death, the production team ultimately stuck to their original plan for the character. It fell to Nathan Turner to inform Waterhouse of Adric's fate. The young actor was initially appalled by the decision and refused to speak to his producer for 2 weeks as a result. He was particularly upset that he would now be precluded from ever returning to Doctor Who, and eventually Waterhouse was mollified by Nathan Turner's observation that the Doctor could still encounter Adric at a time prior to his death. This never happened. During October 1981, Sentinel was renamed to Earthshock. Its director was to be Peter Grimwade, who had just completed Kinder. Grimwade, Saywood, and Nathan Turner were all keen that Earthshock should try as much as possible to capture the fast-paced feel of a feature film. As a result, Grimwade's final camera scripts were extremely long, with episode 4 alone running to 89 scenes, far more than was normal for Doctor Who at that time. Joining Grimwade's behind-the-scenes team, we have production manager Jeffrey Manton, who makes his only contribution to the show. He also worked as a production assistant on Dixon of Dock Green and Blake 7. As designer, we have another one-time contribution from Bernard Lloyd-Jones, and outside of Doctor Who, he worked on both Z-Cars and Softly Softly Task Force, as well as on the 2 Ronnies and EastEnders. And as composer, we have the return of Malcolm Clarke, who had previously contributed incidental music to Season 9's The Sea Devils. Remember how much we loved that one, guys?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I believe we said that was one of the more annoying BP scores. But he will return to the show a further 5 times between seasons 20 and 23. We also have the first of 3 contributions to the show from costumer Dina Collin. Outside of the show, she's really notable for her work on the 1995 version of Pride and Prejudice, for which she was a BAFTA nominee and an Emmy winner. And she also worked on the Bourne Supremacy and United 93, so she went on and did Hollywood. Of course, for this story, she was assigned the task of bringing the Cybermen into the 80s, and worked on the project with Richard Gregory of effects firm Imagineering, who are based in Witney, Oxfordshire. We've heard their name a few times before. They decided to abandon the rubber diving suits which had previously been the basis of Cybermen outfits, and opted instead for the more high-tech look of military G-suits. At Nathan Turner's suggestion, the chins of the updated Cybermen were left clear so that the actors' jaws could be seen, as he felt this would reinforce the notion that the Cybermen had once been human. And to achieve a similar effect, Colin and Gregory also considered leaving the Cybermen's hands bare, as had been the case in their first appearance in the 10th Planet, and then seamlessly integrating the flesh with the cybernetic arm. However, it was ultimately decided that this effect would be too complex to achieve on a BBC budget. Colin also wanted to do away with the handlebars on the side of the Cyberman helmets, but this was vetoed by Nathan Turner and Saywood, who felt that they were an essential part of the Cyberman image. Now, long-term listeners may remember how much Don hated those handlebars.
Yep.
He said they made them look like they were wearing chunky Bose headphones. So he would have been so mad about that decision. Anyway, one sequence in Cyber Control incorporated a scenes of flashbacks to older Doctor Who stories. J&T had been delighted by the reception of a similar sequence in the concluding episode of Legopolis the previous year, and so he was alert for opportunities to include more moments like that. Earthshock was an obvious candidate given that the Cybermen had encountered the Doctor on many occasions, and so Saywood and Levine worked together to select one clip from each Doctor who had previously encountered the Cybermen. They settled on extracts from the 10th Planet for the first Doctor, the Wheel in Space for the second Doctor, although over the clip they talk about the Tomb of the Cybermen, so it gets a bit confusing, and Revenge of the Cybermen for the fourth Doctor. In post-production, Grimwade became very unhappy with Malcolm Clarke's incidental music, which largely relied on natural metallic sounds such as hammers striking girders. The director complained to Nathan Turner, but as there was no time to compose a new score, Clarke's work was in fact used. Meanwhile, the BBC's official listings magazine, the Radio Times, offered Nathan Turner a cover to promote the return of the Cybermen. And Doctor Who hadn't enjoyed such prominent publicity since 1973, but Nathan Turner was keen to keep the monster's appearance a secret and so declined the invitation. When Earthshock Episode 4 aired on March the 16th, 1982, it concluded with the credits running silently over a shot of Adric's shattered badge. Nathan Turner had borrowed this idea from a 1964 episode of Coronation Street, in which original character Martha Longhurst had been killed off. It marked the first time in the program's history that an episode would end without the traditional theme tune. So that brings us to the end of Behind the Scenes, and for a change, the short summary is with me. In this story, the TARDIS crew stumble into a murder mystery in a cave, in which they are immediately accused, because we know that's how this always goes. Turns out that there are some rather sleek androids committing the murders, which are being controlled by none other than the Cybermen, because they've always used androids. Anyway, don't think about it too hard. To make it even more convoluted, they're planning on blowing up Earth with a huge bomb in order to prevent a peace conference from happening. It's the Pertwee era all over again. Anyway, the Doctor naturally thwarts that and heads off to face the Cybermen on a space freighter where they're controlling everything from. Gotta find that alien-style tension somewhere. Of course, the Cybermen naturally hijack that spaceship, turn it into an extremely large bomb, and set it on a collision course with Earth. Naturally, they put a device with logic gates in place that only Adric can solve in order to change the ship's course. And Adric, being the idiot he is, stays behind to try to finish the job. After disabling 2 of them, the ship travels back in time to the Cretaceous period, which, conveniently, had been mentioned at the beginning of the episode when they found some fossils in those caves. And unable to prevent the ship from smashing into the Earth, Adric dies doing what he loved: mathematics. And he also was partly responsible for the extinction of the dinosaurs. Anyway, roll the credits, sadly, with no music. Nobody cried.
Except for Diana.
How very dare you?
Diana cried.
I did cry.
All right, let's talk about it. Episode 1.
I want to talk about two things real quick. One, can I be mad at Amazon for using the Cybermen as the thumbnail for this season?
Yes.
Because they did.
Huh.
Yeah, by the way, that was the Cybermen. And two, Earthshock has been one of those story arcs that I always heard of. Always heard of Earthshock. Had no idea what happened in it. Had no idea it was Cybermen. But I knew it was talked about, so I knew it was either going to be really bad or really good. And I haven't decided if it's really bad or really good. But it is memorable, and
Yes.
I'll always remember it now.
I was also lucky enough to go into this unspoiled, and I knew something important or something kind of big was going to happen at the very minimum. And when the Cybermen showed up, I thought, oh, that's what it is. It's been a while. It's the Cybermen. I was very surprised, but I think it came around, obviously, and we'll talk about it now because it starts right off the start in part 1. There's already a foreshadowing. Adric is getting fed up and he wants to leave. He wants to be his own person and stop being kind of treated like a child. And then after that, it becomes very clear, probably around midway part of part 4, where that's when I said, oh, they're going to do this. But let's talk about the beginning, the happier times. So I would have to say that I've seen a lot of stuff on Doctor Who that, as Anthony likes to point out, makes me go, ugh.
No.
Oh, God, if there was one thing that I didn't want to see on Who, it was Adric's teenage boy bedroom. It probably reeks in there.
Yep, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Don't touch any socks on the floor.
Oh, God.
Well, he only has the one outfit, so really, is it his room that smells
right.
or himself that smells?
Maybe.
I like to think that the TARDIS has nanobots that clean his clothes when he sleeps.
Let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so.
But let's talk about the real star of part 1, and it's the first thing we see. It's a quarry.
Oh, yeah.
It is a quarry.
And it's the first one we've seen, I think. I'm sure someone write in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the first one we've seen since the Leisure Hive. It's been
wow.
a really long time.
There's not been a quarry since I've been on the show.
Okay.
Oh, wow. It's the first quarry since season 17.
It's my first quarry. Yeah,
You always remember your first quarry.
you do. It's been so long.
It's an interesting start, right? And if we start from kind of also the very, very get-go, why am I getting Starship Trooper vibes from the costumes?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't catch that. Dang.
But 15 odd years before Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm. So we know where they got that idea from.
Big Doctor Who fans, clearly.
Obviously. I like this crew. I like the characters, and I also got a little bit of Brigadier vibes, just maybe because of the mustache.
From Lieutenant Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I still rather enjoyed it. The number of women is amazing.
Philip
So-
Hinchcliffe could never.
Absolutely.
Could
never.
Yeah, I really thought that considering that it was a pretty large cast, especially because we kept bouncing around overall, even down to like the TARDIS crew, I think this was a well-written story for the characters. Because even Adric Doctor scene at the top was finally a scene between the two of them that took me back to when we were first introduced to him, and all he wanted to be was just like the Doctor.
Yeah.
And was following him around with the big eyes doing dumb stuff. And finally it was that scene of them coming back and being confrontational about like, well, you never gave me any attention. Okay, I'll give you more attention. I don't want it like that. You know? And it was him being annoying and obnoxious. But I think one of the reasons I do love Adric, and I'm just a diehard for him, is because Earthshock honestly does his character credit. He is as obnoxious as he should be. He is annoying, but he's also incredibly earnest and is trying to be a big boy. He wants to be an adult. He wants to be just like the Doctor. And I do think that this gives him that. And all of the characters in this story, I think, were really strong.
And to be fair, I mean, I think this first episode has to go hard on character because the plot isn't bad by any means, but it's relatively simple. You've got a crew going into a cave to try and find a previous expedition, and they're being picked off one by one. Our heroes encounter them, our heroes get caught up in it, and that's it. That's the plot of episode 1, or part 1. It's not a bad thing, but it means that the character moments really have a bit more time to shine. And the other thing I really liked is, with that simple plot, they took the time to really ramp up the tension as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting how we had spoken this season, how it was so helpful for them to work with a bare bones story to try to kind of reset and find a new baseline. And I believe that was back in the Visitation, maybe. I think it may have been right before that. And now we have such a traditional story for Doctor Who. And it gives, like Anthony, exactly what you said. It gives finally some time for other things to take place. It's not just a whirlwind. We do have character moments. Arguably, we have an arc that does complete. It's kind of amazing. It's finally a good balance. Maybe now they realize that they should not be coming up with these absolutely insane ideas for premises. You got to balance it out, or at least give us a character heavy one and then a concept heavy one later. Maybe that's what they need to do. Well, we'll see. Can we talk about the androids? They're fighting for the... It's Daft Punk. I can't be the only other person that saw that, right?
Daft Punk in gimp suits, yeah.
And then I was really disappointed with the quality of the FX here. The shooting and stuff. I swear
the candy canes?
Yeah, I swear it's looked better on the show before.
I mean, K9's lasering dicks looked better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I gave up a lot of hope for the special effects when they decided to show that fossil in the wall like that. I was horrified. Didn't even give it a real skull. How dare they?
But I did like the dinosaur talks.
Oh man, it was on point. I loved it.
I love me some dinosaur talk, and I love when I see things when people talk about dinosaurs and it's all kind of different. Because obviously, as more and more time goes on, we learn more and more about dinosaurs. So seeing it in a different period in time, it's just like, oh yeah, this is when this just happened and everything. So that's really fun too, but love it.
When they started the dinosaur talk, did you for 1 minute anticipate that Adric would be directly involved in their extinction?
Honestly, what a flex.
Mad lad.
I mean, no idea at all. I really thought it was just maybe the show going way back to its educational roots, just to give a little bit of color, a little background, just to sprinkle in and then move on to a Cybermen that don't sound right and don't look right, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to read the subtitles to understand them. It was weird.
Yeah, that's disappointing in a way. I was expecting at one point that, and then I really don't like that you could see their chins. It kind of felt like this old bit that was sent around on the internet a long time ago where someone overdubbed Darth Vader with just a very just lazy, or not lazy, just relaxed, carefree English person. Like, oh, come on, just like that. That's what it kind of felt like. They didn't seem intimidating. They just really honestly felt like an Englishman in a metal suit, and it just did not work for me.
On the other hand, I love these Cybermen. I'm also a big Cyberman fan. The fact that I can't get this issue of the Radio Times with Cybermen on the cover is heartbreaking to me because I love them. I think that what they were trying to do with making them appear more human is the right kind of scary for me. I think they are much scarier when they have just a little bit more of the physical humanness, because to have that complete takeover is absolutely terrifying. The more normal human voice was definitely odd, but I like the look of them a whole lot.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I actually like these 80s Cybermen. I like the more flexible material in the suits. It does give really the impression of a slightly more futuristic metal. I don't mind the voices that much. But I know Don would have been mad as hell at how they have really gone headphone style.
I don't mind the handlebars. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, I like them.
Well, so really the Cybermen's appearance is the cliffhanger to part 1. You get the android view of the Doctor, and it cuts to the Cybermen watching in, and it's, destroy them! Destroy them at once! And that's our cliffhanger, and we're into part 2. Incidentally, sorry, before we go too much further, a friend of mine once had the idea for Earthshock the opera.
Okay. I could see that.
It's included the excellent song. Have you noticed how much they say excellent?
Oh, yes.
So,
Yes.
Excellent, 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 excellent. It would have been great.
I am 100% there for it.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
All right, part 2.
Yeah, part 2. This is where we deal with, I think at this point, Scott has come around now, and we don't have to dilly-dally with the you four responsible for the deaths because the androids have been revealed. And I think at this point, don't we have our big shootout with the androids, or did that happen in the end of part 1?
That's the beginning of part 2, where they finally concentrate their fire and are able to...
And Adric gets his big hero moment. Well, his first of 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the tummies on one of the GIMP suits popped open. And so I saw a human tummy on the android.
Oh, really? I missed that.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big old seam, like 3 inches.
I love it when production errors like that happen.
I always miss them. I don't pay that much attention, apparently.
I didn't either. It was just an expanse of, skin tone in the middle of black, whatever that fabric was.
Vinyl, maybe?
Yeah.
Rubber.
Oh, let's not. Moving on.
They should have been the Vord. Bring back the Vord, I say.
It basically was a Cyberman who had taken over the Vord. That was what happened. That's why when it popped open, it was skin toned.
And here we have our ticking clock scenario with the bomb, and we have what was already foreshadowed in part 1. The Doctor and Adric are working together to try to get this bomb to be, I guess, safely disposed of. And it's there that they have a good moment together.
Again, lots of opportunities for character moments in this story.
Yeah, they all have a great moment on the TARDIS, all of them together. And I was like, look at that. They can get along. This is so nice. I want more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Complimenting each other.
They finally pull it together for everyone, and then...
Right. Right.
Then they do what they did.
Yes.
We'll
see you in
talk about
part
it.
4.
But then Adric does then go on to say, so we take care of the bomb, right? Adric and Doctor, great moment, all this other stuff. And then the Doctor is like, we should probably, find more out. And then Adric goes, but it's not our problem, Doctor. Excuse me, Adric, isn't this always what the Doctor does?
Yeah.
Every time? How is it not our problem?
I mean, Adric's kind of always been a little bit of a little shit.
Yeah. He's like, we're all done, right?
He's got to get back to his bedroom. He needs to rub some polish on his mathematical excellence medal.
All right, let's talk about the Cybermen's plan here, because there's this boombox bomb that they've got that they're going to use to basically destroy the Earth. Pretty powerful bomb, but I'm not going to dispute size versus power. And when that fails, they have another plan that involves some random freighter. This is a pretty bonkers plan, even by Cybermen standards.
They were desperate. What can you say? They were desperate.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it sounds like a backup plan.
Yeah.
A scrappy group of absolute demon robots put together just in case their bomb that somehow got buried under the earth very deep. How it got there, who knows? That was never really explained.
Well, no, it wasn't, but who cares?
I kept kind of waiting at the end for there to be some explanation of like, oh, this is also how this got buried, but it didn't really do that.
Don't ask difficult questions, Diana.
I know.
When Adric went back in time and everything happened with the dinosaur, he also left the bomb that then started the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and they just happened to find it later. Yeah, that circles it all back around.
Before we talk about heading to the freighter, because the Doctor traces their signal to the freighter, let's talk about the clip show. I think it was done better than the clip show in Logopolis.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. And you know me, I could see Troughton again. I was very happy.
Yeah.
You got Troughton, but no Jamie.
It's okay. It was a Doctor-centric moment.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well. And it really reinforced that idea that what you're seeing wasn't anything, directly related to how we're getting rid of Adric. It's more related to, we really love this show and we have watched it before, we promise, kind of a attitude to this.
It was nice to see Hartnell and Troughton again. It's a shame Pertwee never got a Cybermen episode, because I would have loved seeing Pertwee, but there was obviously just no way to make that happen within the context of the episode. And, Tom, he hasn't been gone long.
Yeah, I mean, we kept on talking about behind-the-scenes stuff with Tom all the way up to this point, so, let's move on.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the freighter, because we immediately encounter some very disgruntled officers. So we're back to that old trope of disgruntled officers, potential bad boss, although I don't think she's that bad.
She's all right. I mean, how can you get mad at Lucille Ball? She's doing a bang-up job up there.
The first officer is
that's the
perfection.
problem.
Ringway.
I love the first. No, he's not. The other lady's the first officer.
Yeah,
you're right. Sorry,
She's
I was
great.
confused. Yeah.
What I love about it is that the captain is not only a woman, but is not young, not beautiful. That's what I love about it. We don't often get that in a lot of this type of show, because a lot of times they're like, well, if we're going to have women of importance, we have to make them pretty.
Now, Beryl Reid, who played her, was better known as a comedian. And I kind of think it shows.
Yeah.
Her performance isn't great, unfortunately. I love the idea, but she almost plays it like the drunk aunt. You know what I mean?
See, that's why I liked her. Because shit people are different sort of people. You do end up with your drunk aunt as the ship captain. That's the people who stick it out on freighters that are that big, staffed by 10 people. So I really appreciated the fact that she was totally mostly unlikable.
Yeah.
Just kind of unpleasant all around. Even when you're feeling like, oh, look, she's not the worst person in the room, you're still gross.
And Ringway's a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
I mean, even before we know what he's done, there's a scene where he literally misses the Doctor and Adric on one of the scanners.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's like his entire fucking job.
And guess what we get again? We get the Doctor being blamed again.
Yeah.
Okay, but to be fair, what else were they supposed to think? They were standing over the body. I've never seen you before. This ship is staffed by 10 people. There's a corpse on the floor. And Dude Man knew what he was hiding. So he was like, yeah, this is perfect. You look like you just killed this guy. So come with me.
You've got a kid wearing what looks like almost
pajamas.
like pajamas. And then
a bit of rope around his waist.
And a man wearing a cricket outfit. I mean,
they really look like the kind of guys who really did that kind of level of brutality.
Hey, you never know. All I'm saying is that they don't have to run every time there's a dead body somewhere when they're going to be the first people to find it. Wait around the corner. Wait for somebody else to find them first. And then go ask questions. Hey, did you kill these people? No? Well, certainly wasn't us.
Well, Diana, as you allude, Ringway busts them over the bodies of the dead patrol. And he says, on this ship, we execute murderers. And that's our cliffhanger, and we're into part 3.
I have a question on some more special effects.
Okay,
so Ringway captures them, and he's talking with the captain. Is that supposed to be some sort of TV screen in which we see them? Because it also oddly looks like just a glass that they're looking through.
I think it's meant to be a monitor.
It's very weird to me. I don't know. It just didn't look natural. Maybe I'm just crazy.
Well,
I mean, that's true, but we don't have to necessarily point it out like that, Anthony.
Can we talk about how emotional this cyber leader is? He's very judgmental. Firstly, he says things like, even under the threat of death, he has the arrogance of a Time Lord. And then he talks about wanting to make the Doctor suffer for their past defeats. That feels very emotional to me.
I mean, the Cybermen are always more emotional than they think they are.
Fair.
I think it's one of the reasons I like them.
No, I want to talk about the fact that they keep their... No. The fact that they keep their spare Cybermen in plastic wrap?
Yes.
Oh, right. The cling wrap. Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly meant to be evocative of Tomb of the Cybermen, right? They're bursting out of these silos when they do get out of their saran wrap. But did they need to be in the cling film? I don't know.
Well, and it seems like a huge waste of resources to have to rebuild those silos every time.
Yeah.
And also, like, in at least Tomb of the Cybermen, it was honeycomb. They all had their own little cell. It just, I don't know. And also the music was much better in Tomb of the Cybermen.
Well, it's all foreshadowed in part 2 when one of the patrol says, you could hide an army down here and no one would find it. Oh.
Bum bum.
I mean, I really enjoy this, if I'm honest. Just the way it's all building, the way the captain sticks to her guns because she doesn't want to lose her bonus and she doesn't want to get fined.
Yeah.
And
I loved that.
She insists on still going to Earth, even though the Doctor says this is exactly what whomever we're fighting wants. She's an idiot. And she's an idiot because she's so self-centered, which I think is what so many people would be.
Right. It's better to have a character like that that's making a bad decision. You understand why they're making the bad decision. They're just not making a bad decision for the sake of moving the plot along. You understand her motivation. And you understand because they've already established the type of person she is. And it's well balanced because at a time like that, when you're annoyed with her being so stubborn, later on, as you see more of her, you see a little bit more depth. She can be sarcastically funny, just really funny. Or she can show a little bit of sensitivity as well. So it's amazing what you can do when you have fully fleshed out characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she never changed her motivation. She definitely needed to pay rent. She was behind on the rent. And so she really needed all of that money. And even her side comments to almost all of the characters all have to do with bonuses or like she never goes too long without talking about, we got to pay the bills, y'all. And I really did appreciate that aspect that she never really softened. She stayed as focused as Tegan is. How am I getting to Heathrow? How do I get this bonus at the end?
She's looking at the company and going, money, please.
You know, her gruffness, she is kind of like a trucker in a way, hauling shipment from one place to another. That combined with Tegan running around with a weapon strapped around her shoulder with her hair up like that, strong alien Ripley vibes right there. Both that concept of like truckers in space, which is kind of what we have here, and then Tegan running around just rootin', tootin', and shooting.
Give her a jumpsuit every day, please.
And it's not just that. The ship itself looks fairly industrial. It's fairly dark, and you get this tension all through it as well as they start taking out cameras and what have you. I feel like there are definite alien vibes to this.
I mean, the large silo area, you don't see a ceiling to it, which is very memorable in those scenes in Alien where you have those absurdly high ceilings where the chains would come down, where it's like, is that even practical on a ship? But on this ship, we don't have chains coming down, but we have these high shots where you never see a ceiling to that area. And it has to be inspired by it. It has to be.
Absolutely. I mean, the way it ramps up the tension feels very Alien-esque, and they do a really good job with that in this episode.
Right, and then also we have I believe in part 3, we have our under siege element. So they're up in the cockpit, and then of course the Cybermen are broken out of their glad bags and are at the door, and they're trying to cut through the door. And I know I made some comments about not caring for the special effects this serial, but it's a classic trick, the quick edit trick of the Cybermen being stuck in the door. That is great. That was wonderful.
Fully Han Solo'd.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
I had to go and look it up, and The Empire Strikes Back did come out before this, about a year before this.
Yeah.
So definite inspiration there.
I loved it.
Absolutely iconic.
I want that for my desk.
A couple of things before that I want to mention. Obviously, Ringway's betrayal.
Oh, yeah. A bit silly.
He sided with the Cybermen because the captain bullied him. He literally sold out his home planet and his entire race because one person bullied him. What an absolute bellend. I also want to talk about the cyber leader being adamant that the Doctor is taken alive. I mean, come on, dude. That is so dumb. That is how you get defeated, bro.
Every time.
Kill him. Stop making the same mistakes as every other monster in the show. Cybermen, you're better than this. Cut it out.
I did think that was the one thing that was truly out of character for the Cybermen. I was like, no. Just shoot him.
They seem to try to paper over that fact by how they are so quick to point out that they are willing to kill anyone else to get the Doctor to fall in line. And they seemed very, very short and curt about that. Like, no, we'll just go ahead and kill one of your friends. But you're right, Anthony, like, that type of brutality fits them. But then why not just kill the Doctor?
Yeah.
I really want to focus on Tegan and the attack team. I really liked what they were doing while everyone was under siege. And I particularly enjoyed that shot where they're sneaking up what appears to be 2 Cybermen that are on patrol, and they seem to be having small talk. I want to know what they are talking about.
I love a couple things with Tegan in that as well, which is obviously her in the jumpsuit is just fabulous. I love it.
It was great to get her out of that fucking uniform at last.
She said, "Can I borrow your outfit?" And I said, "Yes, it is time."
And then I also loved when she made the comment. She's like, "I know, I'm just a mouth on legs." I was like, yeah. Tegan, girl, you're so hard on yourself. I mean, not probably the thing that you should have chosen to do, but go, girl, be a badass.
I might be misremembering, and I'm Googling this as I speak, but I think Janet Fielding's biography was called A Mouth on Legs.
Oh, I love it.
It would be amazing.
Oh, she did a documentary called A Mouth on Legs. That was it.
Excellent line. I thought it was fun.
I thought it was excellent. Yeah. Nice self-referential, a little self-degrading, but because that's the humor in those brash types of people, are they do recognize that they are a mouth on legs. And so I thought it was a great character moment for her.
Completely agree. Well, after we have the Han Solo moment, Cybermen inevitably make it onto the bridge. Of course they kill Ringway because he's a fucking idiot. And their excuse is, he deceived us. And the Doctor has that line, you never change, always the perfect guests. It's that and a little bit of dialogue in the next episode, I think, where Peter Davison is finally the Doctor for me.
Yes. I agree.
That's this story.
I'm almost there. Not there yet. Almost there. I can see what you're talking about. You're right. It's gotten a lot better, but I was distracted by the events of part 4 to pick up on that.
Well,
sure.
I think, again, for me, it came down to the Tegan bit, like that kind of stuff. It's when the Doctor is really faced with that decision, and that's where it started to really click for me.
Yeah. We end the episode with the Cybermen army awakening. And of course, the Cyber leader saying, "My army awakes, Doctor," which is followed by split-screen Cybermen marching through the freighter, which looks pretty cool until they get too close to the screen and the edges of their arms get cut off. But that's our cliffhanger, and we're into part 4, and at last it's a short cliffhanger.
Yeah, the first one.
Did they awake? They sure did.
And this is where we start finding out their plan. They're turning the ship into a flying bomb. There's an interplanetary conference happening on Earth to sign a pact to unite various militaries in a war against the Cybermen. It is basically the Third Doctor tropes again. Yeah. So we've got the Second Doctor base under siege, the Third Doctor peace conference. I dig it.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, Tegan gets captured because why not?
Oh, yeah, I take it back. This is the moment where I go, what's wrong with these Cybermen? Because why didn't they kill her? They don't know that she's important to the Doctor. They've never seen her. Why didn't they zap her? I'm glad they didn't. I happen to like Tegan, but why didn't they kill her?
Fair point. That said, speaking of getting killed, poor Professor Kyle, who is shot and killed by one of the Cybermen, and in the TARDIS, for shame.
Yeah.
Obviously, we keep trying to avoid the elephant in the room, but before that, we do have quite a high body count in this one.
Oh, yes, we do.
And it's very action heavy, which I couldn't help, especially with those on-scene real little explosions were very similar to what you would see with the blaster effect in Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. So it seems very clear that they were trying to make the show a bit more action heavy here, and it really came through.
When you hear that J&T and Peter Grimwade and Eric Saywood were talking about having it cut a bit faster and trying to mimic feature films, I really do think they were specifically thinking about The Empire Strikes Back and Alien with this.
And you really can feel it.
Yeah.
I even wrote down, like, while I was watching it, the momentum is just so much better in this story to be able to keep me moving through all 4 without a real slump.
And then I was going to go with talking about all the violence, really. I mean, you had people turning to goo.
Yeah, episode 1. I was surprised Riley didn't talk about how disgusting that was.
Yeah.
And someone actually like touching it and talking about it. I was like, wow, okay. Like, it's getting a little rough here, guys.
I have a note here, and all it says, and it's because of various reasons, it's been a few weeks since we actually recorded and since we've watched this. My note simply says, cyberbutts. I can't remember why I wrote that. I just did.
Did they have good butts?
It's
Did I
nothing.
miss good butts?
Nothing compared to the ass warriors.
True.
I'm sorry, but does not compare.
Our thick boys.
I couldn't tell you, Anthony, because I don't have the same notes on mine.
No, I just can't remember why I wrote that. It's just there. I figured someone would appreciate it.
I fully appreciate.
So there are a few things here. Another Doctor moment, when Tegan gets dragged to the bridge and the cyber leader is realizing that the Doctor has emotional feelings and he has leverage over the Doctor. The Doctor makes comment, for some people, small beautiful events are what life's all about. Again, for me, that's, yes, this man is the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He had that big moral tirade, and it's always the moments when the Doctor just loses his absolute shit and goes on a moral escapade where he's just ranting and raving, that I feel that's when I see the Doctor the most. And this was the first time where I was like, all right, I could see where, maybe this is a blip. Maybe I'll feel differently in the next story, but this is the Doctor.
Yeah. And then I also want to call out the Cybermen's emotions here. They decide they're going to leave the crew on board as they're going to smash it into the Earth just so that the crew can feel fear. And when Tegan calls them out for being sadistic, the cyber leader tries to claim, no, but it's just scientific. No, bro, you know exactly what you're doing. You're being a sadistic, absolute asshole.
Yeah.
I've had wine tonight. That's why I'm so sweary. I am sorry, dear listener.
Are we going to talk about this ending, this very slow ending with this lone Cyberman that they keep cutting back to in Adric?
Leaking his way through the freighter.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah.
And there's the small part of you who's like, maybe he can actually do it. But even like the other crew members, when they find a way to leave and they're like, hey, Adric, let's go. And he's like, no, I've got this. Adric, buddy, the crew's gone. It's already established that it's back in time. Like, what are you doing? What are you saving?
And it's not until the Doctor realizes when they are. They're 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs went extinct. So if Adric did crack the code and managed to divert the ship, the dinosaurs would never die out and none of history would have happened as we know it. So this had to happen.
Yeah.
The new series will say, what is it? A fixed point in time. This is a fixed point in time.
You all exist because of Adric.
Oh,
When I fill up my car with gas, I will always think of him.
Oh,
Hey,
no.
The more people think about Adric, the better. He deserves to be remembered. His sacrifice was so great, even though it's because he was dumb.
Yeah, the logic puzzles, the 3 logic, those were just 3 Sudoku puzzles. It really wasn't that.
No, I really like to think that Adric was doing some advanced algebra, like what he really loved doing. I do want to question the freighter suddenly being able to jump time. There is no indication that even the Cyberman's gadget could make it do that before this. That is so convoluted. I wish there had been more setup for that. I don't hate that it happens. I just hate that it happens without any indication that it's something that could happen. It feels very pulled out of thin air.
honestly, I think Adric accidentally did it as he was doing a Sudoku.
I mean, look, that would have been a better thing to have been able to put in, was that he had like slightly fucked up the logic puzzle.
Yeah,
and
that would have
had it slip time, because they hadn't established that the Cybermen have access to time travel.
And let's not forget that while this is going on, the Doctor is grating some Parmesan cheese on the Cyberman leader's chest with that metal. Just going right into there, man, just grinding away.
See, Adric saved everyone's life again.
There's never been such an emblem of Adric than his goddamn badge. I mean, he even wore it on his costume in the previous story in Black Orchid. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he's not wearing it and it's literally being ground up to kill off the cyber leader, we know what's happening. If the badge goes, Adric goes.
Yeah. All right. And all, okay. Now that we truly are coming to the end of the moment, I have given Adric a whole bunch of shit, and I really enjoy poking fun at him. But I will admit that the show did an excellent job of sending him off, not just with how the scene ended with him and what the character had to do, but just the arc that he had, the other things that he did through it, little small character moments. It was really, really wonderful. I wish that Adric was giving something like this way before. Maybe I would have liked him more, but I was a bit emotional. I didn't expect it, and I kind of had that leering feeling when you're halfway through it and you get the sense like, oh, they're going to do it. They're going to kill him off. And you always leave that slight hope that maybe you're wrong. But then as you get closer and closer, that fear keeps growing. And then it happens, and it's just kind of gutting, really.
Yeah.
That felt so good to hear you say that.
Yeah, I'm not a horrible person.
It.
I'm not a horrible person. I'm speaking the truth here, and this is absolutely true. And I will say this. We have seen a lot of final scenes for Doctors so far, but I think Adric had a more dramatic end than many of them. And I thought it was better done with him than with other Doctors.
I do want to call out, his last words are kind of smug. Well, I'll never know if I was right.
I love him. God damn, I love him.
To be fair, teenage boy, yeah, okay. It's fine. I agree with Riley, though. His ending is better than majority of companions and a good number of Doctors.
At least he didn't get married off.
He didn't get married off, and he didn't just all of a sudden decide to run off with a lion and clean kitty litter. It's fine. Although apparently he kind of wanted to go back maybe and find Romana. And then he was like, nah, bro, I thought about it. I was just kidding. But, it's fine.
Yeah, JK.
I really, really hope that Waterhouse was happy with how this final serial turned out, because I gotta say, Doctors, other companions, have not gotten a send-off like that, where, as Anthony mentioned in the behind the scenes, no music in the credits. I mean, it is somber. It is a funeral. It is quite a lot of respect.
Yeah, that was the part that I shed a tear, but it was definitely that closeout on the star.
Oh, yeah.
And I can fully acknowledge, in the same vein as Riley and Julie being open and honest about how they feel about Adric, this episode quite possibly colors my whole opinion of the character, because this episode does such a good job of presenting Adric. If he had been presented this way in all of them, we would have had a really good time shitting on him, but wouldn't have felt so bad about the fact that, like, oh God, like, he's just been terrible. And in this one, he is terrible, but in a fun way. Mm-hmm. In a way where you go, you know what? I am sad that he's the reason the dinosaurs are dead.
Yeah, but we still have one story of the season left, so I think we might be dealing with a little of the aftermath of his death.
Yeah, because everyone was sad.
Yeah. Well, we end the story with the credits over the badge and no theme music. As Diana said, she shed a single tear. Let's go ahead, since we're at the end of the story, and round up our metrics. We have one quarry at last.
Yay.
The camp count, nominations.
I don't think so. Does anyone else?
I think the cyber leader deserves a point.
I was about to say the cyber leader is a little bit...
Excellent.
A point.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. 1 point.
Anyone catch any I'll explain laters?
No.
No,
because the doctor got called out for it at the beginning, and so I think he worked harder at explaining in the moment.
Good point. And no jelly babies.
No.
Let's go ahead and score this, and I will kick us off. I feel like this is a very solid story. It ramps up the tension really well. It's great to see the Cybermen again. It focuses on, at least in the first episode, on characterization. Gives us a very, very plain storyline, but it works. I really enjoyed this. I don't have a lot to complain about, and so for me, it gets 8 gut-busting androids out of 10. Julie, let's go with you next.
I'm going to be in pretty much agreement. It's a very solid story, and that ending is brilliant. It's so wonderfully done, and really appreciative and good that a character that has not got the appreciation in the storylines that he should got to end in such a way. It's very nice to see. And, yes, some of the special effects are a little wonky. The Cybermen voices aren't necessarily my favorite, but yeah, I think I'm going to go with 8 Cybermen and cellophane out of 10.
All right, Riley, let's go with you next.
For the first 3 episodes, I was feeling like this was just the show holding firm by following strict basic premise and structure, to help right the ship of the wobbliness that we had of the early season. And I thought it was coming in ratings-wise at the same level as The Visitation for myself. But then the final episode occurred, and suddenly everything got real dark. And I'm not just talking about Adric. The last episode has a lot of brutality, a lot of cruelty, and the drama was just so strong before Adric. And then what's amazing is that it's at that level, but it never goes, in my opinion, over the top melodramatic. Very impressive. And I have to admit, I will miss Adric. It was a good time for us to have a lot of fun and poking fun at him, and I'm going to miss that. So I'm going to give this 8, put a little Adric in your tank, out of 10.
Oh, wow. And then last but very much not least, Diana.
Bam, saving the best for last. Honestly, us talking about the fact that there are so many allusions to Alien and The Empire Strikes Back definitely reinforced why I like this story, because that is some of my favorite types of big action-packed science fiction. And I enjoyed every gosh darn second of this story from the top. I loved the scene with the Doctor and Adric, and it just continues to badass its way through dinosaurs. It's good at talking about some of the science. I was really impressed. My little paleontology minor in my heart was so flippin' happy. It used the dinosaurs, I actually thought, quite well to bookend the whole story without really giving anything away, and just having that kind of science-y aspect where you could just bullshit the rest of it, which they did in spectacular flair. It was all very simple, but the characters really spoke well for themselves. I really liked the drunk auntie for the ship. The cyber leader was fabulous. I loved it all. So I am giving this 9 extinction events out of 10.
Cool.
Boy.
So that gives us a story average of 8.25, which pretty damn good. For a season we haven't really been enjoying that much. That brings us to the end of the episode. I've certainly really enjoyed talking about this one, and I look forward to where we land next time, when we'll be back to discuss Time Flight, the season finale. But in the meantime, everyone, thank you so very much for listening, and of course, until next time, have a good one. You have been listening to Watchers in the Fourth Dimension with Diana Burney, Riley Schreck, Julie Philippek, and myself, Anthony Williams. This episode, Jur-Adric Park, was recorded on Wednesday the 28th of May 2025. If this is your first time listening into the show, all of our previous episodes are available wherever you like to get your podcasts. You can also interact with us on Facebook and Instagram at Watchers4D, and you can also email us at watchers4d@gmail.com. If you're enjoying the show, please do subscribe and consider leaving us a review or rating on your favorite podcasting app. All of those things really do help the show. And always remember, slamming a freighter into a planet isn't the most efficient way of disrupting a peace conference, but it definitely makes for an acceptable backup plan.